Good morning, good afternoon, good evening from wherever you're watching from around the world or in the future. Welcome to today's webinar. What's new with Tanzu Application Service 5.0? Today, a very good friend to the program, Nick, is back with us. And for the first time, we have Mia. Hey, guys.
Hello. Hi.
Before we hand it off to today's speakers, we do have a few housekeeping items that we'd like to just cover. We'd love to keep this as interactive as possible. So if you have any question, please submit them using the Ask a Question tab below, and we'll do our best to answer all of your questions live. In addition, we know that you guys are here to hear from us, but we also love to hear from you guys. So if you have any comments, any feedback, or what you like to hear at future events, please hit the Rate This tab also below the presentation screen. And we do take all of your comments to heart as we plan out our webinar schedule. So without further ado, I'll hand it off to today's speakers.
Okay. Hi, everyone. I'm Nick Kuhn, if you don't know who I am, and I'm a tech marketing architect working on Tanzu Application Service. And Mia, do you want to kind of give everyone an intro?
Sure. Hi, I'm Mia. I am the product marketing manager for Tanzu Application Service, working very closely with Nick. And I'll give a little bit of an introduction today and what you can expect to hear in this webinar, and then we can go through some of the agenda items and jump right into it. So today we're really focused on sharing the latest and greatest features and enhancements that we're sharing about Tanzu Application Service 5.0 that's now generally available. So if you weren't able to make it to VMware Explore Barcelona last week, you've come to the right place today because we're going to be sharing all of those announcements that we shared, going through a deep dive of TAS 5.0, including a sneak peek into what we're building for TAS and private AI. So very cool stuff there. So that's really a quick agenda here. We flash up that disclaimer very quickly. That's just a very standard thing that we have to share, that some of these features and capabilities that we mentioned throughout the presentation are still under development, so just something to keep in mind. We do call out whether something is GA or beta, so you'll see that throughout the presentation. Firstly, we'll jump into an intro of what is Tanzu Application Service, whether you're new here or just simply need a refresher. So we'll jump right into that. So first, before we get into all the exciting 5.0 updates that we're building in our latest release, let's start off with what is Tanzu Application Service. So back in 2011, TAS was based on Cloud Foundry, and the platform is able to support many different platform services from Spring workloads to Windows, including different build packs and a lot of other different services. And Operations Manager really supports that life cycle of VMs that help power the platform. So customers are able to take TAS with them really to any public cloud. Customers can then run that software on a platform that's designed to operate across those different clouds. So really, everything starts there in TAS, and you can choose a fully integrated application service to run on top of that, or you can choose specific components that help accelerate either your team or your workload to operate. Next slide, please. So when we're zooming out and looking at what value TAS is continuing to deliver as this legacy platform running within the Tanzu portfolio, we have to look at what that means for our customers and what they care about, like how is it impacting their developers' time to code when we talk about release cycles or security and operations. So when we're looking at developers and their speed and productivity levels, we're seeing that with TAS, they're able to spend more time coding. We've seen an average of developers going from spending 20 hours a week on coding to now 27 hours per week on average using TAS. So really great to see those increases there. And when we're looking at faster release cycles, we're seeing that the number of overall deployments are actually increasing significantly over time. It used to be software applications were only pushed out a few times a year, but with TAS, it's now happening multiple times a week. Some customers have been able to go from releasing 18 releases per year to now doing that twice a week or even twice a day. So really great to understand that. And then when we're looking at what it looks like from a security perspective, we know that this is something that's always on our customers' minds. and platform engineers are spending less time deploying patches, actually a 75% reduction in time. And then lastly, when we're looking at it from a multi-cloud perspective, we're seeing that platform engineers are also spending less time in the platform, but they're reducing the amount of platform engineers that have to dedicate their time to being in there. So that's really overall how TAS is continuing to deliver value to our customers. Next slide, please. So as we know, we have a lot of customers that have used TAS for many years and are continuing to use it to this day. And they're continuing to make an impact across multiple industries and are very happy using the platform. And this continues to be the platform of choice for customers to run their mission critical infrastructure and high security workloads. We see that there's 24 of the Fortune 100 customers that choose to use TAS to run those mission critical applications. And we have 5 of the top 20 financial institutions that choose to run their mission critical applications on TAS. We also have 4 of the top 20 retailers, such as Dick's Sporting Goods, that choose to run e-commerce applications. So we're still continuing to build on TAS with our biannual releases by continuing to add new features that help make our TAS developers and platform engineers' lives easier. And you'll see that as we talk about the features that we have added to TAS 5.0 in this latest release. So with that, I will go ahead and pass it over to Nick, who will go through the deep dive of here's everything that's new in TAS 5.0.
All right. Thanks, Mia. So first, we're going to kind of dive into the Tanzu Operations Managers updates that are going to really focus on the platform engineer running the platform. So kind of the first feature we want to highlight is the addition of the automated certificate rotation for the Bosch DNS CA or certificate. So this, if you're familiar with this is one of those certificates that's like a traditionally done when in a 3-leg deploy, where you have to apply changes multiple times to propagate this change throughout the system. We've done a lot of great work in the past few years making certificates a lot easier to deal with, and I'm talking about these internal platform certificates that are all managed between all the different components within the platform. So this is one of the last legs to kind of fully automate the overall, managed platform certificates. This is going to lay the groundwork to hit all the additional certificate authorities that need to be rotated. So hopefully, coming soon, this will be fully automated, but you can opt into this feature now and start with this when you, this will take into effect when you start doing like stem cell updates and things of that nature. So definitely something to keep in mind in terms of saving time with certificates. So we also introduced some additional disaster recovery workflows. When I can get into that a little bit more when we actually talk about some of the actual Bosch commands. But this is driven for, the platform is highly available and resilient and can be deployed across multiple availability zones and things of that nature. But if you do have some kind of catastrophic event, you want to try to recover as soon as possible, whether that be, a region issue in a public cloud provider, or maybe a shared storage device within your data center going down and taking out multiple clusters. Just something to keep in mind there. Another really exciting feature that I can showcase as well here, and I have some live demos to get through, throughout this process here, so we can kind of talk about things and see them live here too soon. But the vSphere CPI, or the Bosch CPI for vSphere, is now you can opt into a checkbox to essentially label VM names in a human readable format, so you don't have to deal with the whole VM-GUID formatting within vCenter. If you're a platform engineer and you have a lot of foundations to sort through, this should be pretty helpful for you as well. And we've added some additional database pruning, or the ability to schedule database pruning from the Ops Manager database, just to ensure cleanliness. And as the environments grow over time, we want to continue to make sure some of these older objects can be safely pruned from the system, just to make sure that's a nice consistent performance. And then I've kind of already hinted about this, but yeah, this is where we continue to make work on the automation of certificates with that Bosch DNS certificate. And this screenshot's actually from some of the newer things that are hitting Ops Manager about helping to manage and look at all the different certificates that you can automate through the platform now. I know a lot of you may still be on older versions, maybe like a 2.11 or 2.13. So there's been a lot of features within that till 5.0 that they're gonna really improve your life as well when you make these upgrades. And in regard to the disaster recovery workflow, there specifically we have two commands about Bosch create recovery plan and Bosch recover, and these are essentially designed for platform engineers when you're in that scenario, but perhaps you lost multiple vSphere clusters that are backing your availability zones due to a network issue or storage issue. Once you clear that out, you want to try to get the platform up as soon as possible. So these are all trying to just increase the time or decrease the time it takes to bootstrap the platform up from essentially a hard crash with multiple clusters going down at once type of thing. So this is and this came out directly out of a customer request where there was issues with SAN arrays going down and then taking out wide advance of their infrastructure. And then here's a screenshot of the actually human readable VM names. I'll be in vCenter today going through demos. You'll see that as well. But again, this is just where you can easily see the different job types and what they're attached to versus just that older naming format. And then additionally, our database pruning. Here's an example of how you could do an OM curl and apply a policy of just keep the past year of data within Ops Manager. This is just to, again, in some of our larger foundations, this becomes a problem over the years where that database keeps growing and growing and growing. We actually had customers writing their own scripts to remove data. So we thought we should probably, make that a little bit easier for everyone and not have to worry about custom, database queries going on the back end. Now I'm going to hint at highlight some of the ecosystem updates as well within 5.0. So the cloud service broker for AWS now supports the Microsoft SQL Server. It's now in GA status. So if you want to deploy Microsoft SQL servers via the cloud service broker, you can do that now in AWS. Additionally, the VMware MySQL tile, or the MySQL tile for TAS, has updated, and one of the flagship features of the latest release are a simplified multi-site deployment. So essentially, if you want to go from on-premise to a cloud or multi-cloud, we've removed the requirement to have routable foundations for this setup. There's obviously this is still a pretty advanced setup in terms of replicating databases and things across sites, but we no longer require routable networks, which is a big deal especially when you're talking about multiple clouds, because usually those networks aren't routable in a traditional sense. And then additionally, we've certified the cloud provider support for the Oracle Cloud VMware solution. So if you want to bring Tanzu Application Service to Oracle Cloud, you can now install it on the OCVS solution. We've actually did a few updates to support the Oracle Blob Storage as well. So if you want to use that as a backend target for your platform deployments, you can do that as well. So again, we're working on expanding the overall cloud ecosystem within Tanzu Application Service. And I do want to highlight another pretty exciting feature that I don't think a lot of people realize, that if you're running the VMware MySQL tile, we're actually offering extended support for MySQL 5.7. The end of life is coming up soon. So a lot of people are trying to make the upgrade to go to MySQL 8.0, but you're actually going to get more time to make that upgrade with our MySQL tile. Just a quick heads up, we have an article about that if you want to learn more, but not like a lot of people know that it's just an added benefit of using the MySQL tile. Additionally, there's one more thing I want to call out that I'm pretty excited about, is that we have a brand new tile we just launched a few weeks ago within the whole TAS 5.0 launch timeframe. But we're actually now GA'd the VMware Postgres for Tanzu Application Service tile. So in addition to all the other services we offer in the marketplace, you can download and run this Postgres tile. So if you want to offer that similar style of database as a service with Postgres, you can do that for all your developers out there. And this is going to come into like a really big play when we start talking about some of the work we're doing with AI, because if you're not familiar, Postgres has something called what we call PG vector, which enables us to store vector embeddings that are kind of a pretty critical component when we start talking about generative AI and some of these large language models. And we'll kind of hint at that a little bit later, but I just want to share that we have a brand new tile out there I'm pretty excited about. And I know a lot of people like Postgres, so it should help out going forward. Now, I just want to cover now the developer experience improvements. Excuse me, my voice is running a little dry there, but the overall kind of big flagship feature from the dev side is the introduction of application readiness health checks. So I'm going to deep dive into this with multiple slides, but this is kind of bringing some of the, if you're familiar with Kubernetes, they had this as well in addition to liveness health checks. So now TAS can do application readiness health checks in addition to liveness health checks. And this is really going to help developers to make some of their application logic a little bit better when we see potential failures within some of their dependencies. Additionally, we've introduced distributed tracing throughout the system, so you can look for like span IDs and trace IDs throughout the platform, and trace whole flows going through in case this is going to be useful for developers, platform engineers, even our own support engineers. As if there's any kind of issue, we can now like find the span and trace IDs going throughout the system and have that in a pretty clear fashion. And then additionally, we've introduced open telemetry support, and this is gonna tie into what we call this new shared nothing architecture that we are working towards, where essentially with something called aggregate syslog drains and open telemetry support, we can potentially start talking about removing the Dopplers and traffic controllers out of the foundation, as those will be essentially bypassed, and even the fire hose nozzles. So I can get into that a little bit more as well, but that's something to keep in mind as well, as some of these larger foundations, and if you have multiple foundations and they're large, like Dopplers and traffic controllers, especially if you have really chatty applications, that could be a pretty large scale size just to handle the log volume egressing out of your platforms. This could be a pretty interesting thing to help potentially save room within your vSphere environment or reduce your cloud spend, but just definitely keep an eye out as we continue to talk about that. Again, I'm now going to dive into the application readiness health checks feature. So, and I'll push an app. I have some code here. And essentially what this is, readiness health checks are really trying to make applications a little bit smarter. So if they potentially, lose access to a dependency, they don't immediately crash and go into that restarting loop. And that's, the whole kind of point of what we're talking about with readiness health checks. And then the current flow of the like pre-TAS 5.0. So we have, we've had liveness health checks out for quite some time. The platform will hit an endpoint, and if it responds like 200, it's okay. Everything's continues to flow through. But if for some reason that endpoint doesn't respond, and then the platform decides to, it's like, oh, that app must be having a problem. It's gonna, crash it and restart it and things of that nature. But then over time, at scale, that could potentially be a problem if you have like some kind of transient issue within your environment. Potentially you have a network device that's potentially having issues, or some shared databases having issues, or even just a certain instance of the application has like a cold cache or things of that nature, where it's not going to immediately respond, and then going into just this app crash and restart mode over and over again isn't going to potentially make things better. If we have, we're just going to then add a bunch of CPU churn on the system as apps try to start up and then crash, start up and crash until their dependency issue is resolved. So now what readiness health checks are really going to do within the platform is, once we add these in, now this is within an application manifest, your developers are going to have to implement this on an app by app basis, just because it's specific to each app, and each app will behave differently. But if this readiness health check will be in addition to the liveness health check. But if it starts failing, The app itself is actually just removed out of the Go router without going into this crash restart loop, which should save system resources. And the app will check to see if it's dependency. In this case, we were going to simulate some network issues with the database. Once that health check goes back up, and then it will return back into the Go router without restarting, crashing over and over again. So that's kind of the whole point of the readiness health checks, is just to be a little bit smarter and not necessarily kind of get into this restart storm of failing dependencies and everything crashing and restarting. And that just becomes a little problematic from a troubleshooting perspective as well, just because you see other things crashing and then you potentially get distracted from the actual root cause of the error. And just from a quick overview of what that kind of flow looks like, you have your traditional app, your app route in myapp.com, that it's going to be backed by the Go routers, and then that Go router is going to talk to an application instance, and the platform is going to look for /up, which is going to represent our liveness health check, and /ready, which will be our readiness health check. And if they both start up and both return 200, the app instance can start. Another keynote is if you implement readiness health checks and your app can't pass it on the first go, it won't start as well. So that's just another thing to note as well. But again, this cycle will continue. As long as the platform is passing both health checks, returning 200, everything's okay. But for some reason, the readiness health check might return a 400 or 500. It's going to say, hey, the app's not ready. I'm going to take it temporarily out of the Go routers, and then watch for that health check to come back 200 and then move it back. But at any given time, if the base liveness health check fails, the app's going to go into that crash restart phase, as you're familiar with. And additionally, with Spring Boot, this is really easy to implement. And you can just add some additional actuator health checks to track that within the platform. There's not a whole lot of code you need to really do to implement that with Spring applications. Now, every app is different, depending on all the dependencies, and different languages are different as well. But I will show you a Spring Boot application example here. Now, let me get out of here, and hopefully everything's going to work on the share here as I exit full screen. Okay. All right. Looks good. I apologize. I had to restart my machine right before this demo, or right before this webinar started, so I have to reload a few tabs here. All right, so we're going to go in Apps Manager, and we're actually going to push an application too. Let me open up a new terminal and load some VS Code. So,
are we able to make these browser screens full screen?
Yeah, I will here. Just one second.
Right, cool.
I just got to open up my terminal here again. All right, so if we look at the manifest file here, we can see everything's, let me zoom in a little bit here. Sorry, my VS Code is angry, just like everything else. But we have these additional health checks set, and we're ready to go. I'm ready to push this. So let me open up a terminal and open up a terminal here. Okay, CF API. Let's just see, we're still targeted. All right. So CF push. All right. So now we're going to push this up the platform. We have these additional readiness health checks defined. So that should set us up for this demo. We're going to simulate some error methods here and how applications respond to that. So as that pushes, do this. Open up my window manager here. Apologize about the shifting displays here, but hopefully we should be in a good place here. So we'll go to explore. This app is pushing. While that's ready to go, let's go into our vCenter because we'll need to see that. Okay. Let's wait for this to start here. Okay, it should be started. So let's refresh. Okay, we'll drill into the application and go into the route. All right, so you have probably if you've been around the Cloud Foundry TAS space in a while, I'm sure you've seen this application, Spring Music. We use it a lot to demo things. But I just pushed it and I had a service defined, and it's actually talking to the brand new Postgres database we deployed via the marketplace. So that's ready to go, and our application is ready to go. It's got health checks going on, and then we can actually see that in Apps Manager as well. Our different liveness and readiness states, those look good. So then, again, everything's ready to go. But now, how do we simulate potential network failure here? That's typically not a simple thing to do. So I'm going to take this VS Code away. I'm going to open a few more terminals here. Terminal here. All right, so all right, I apologize. It's taking a little longer than it needed to set up, but all right. So now on the top right-hand screen here, I'm curling that endpoint that we just spun up. So it's returning to 200. That's how it should be. Everything's ready to go. Let me bring this one up here, and we can do a manual check of the endpoints as well. So everything looks good, just like we saw in Apps Manager. Everything, all our liveness state and readiness state is ready to go. So no issues there. But now I'm going to go into vCenter, and I've already selected the Postgres instance that I'm talking to. And if you can see here too, we have all the friendly VM names as well as part of my TAS deployment on vSphere. So I'm going to edit settings here, and I'm actually going to pull the virtual network cable or virtual NIC out of the vSwitch. I'm going to do that here, and then hit OK. And essentially now, my database just dropped off the network. So we should have a problem, right? Something's going amiss. And now if we refresh our app, this is not good, right? This is the exact issue that we're trying to solve against. And I actually purposely left one line out of the config to show this, but essentially the app is up, it's responding 200, but it doesn't have access to its database, so it's not actually serving proper data. So that's not really good, and that's the the whole thing. We don't want to see this happen. And once we can actually we need to add additional line to have that health check taken into account. Let me see if anything's starting to fail here. Probably not, though, because we haven't added the readiness state to check the database as well. So let's just go ahead, and while we do that, we can reconnect the database to the network. Hit OK, and then refresh our album. And now the app's up again. Everything's ready to go. But like in that interim, in the real world, we'd have had errors because the app wouldn't have returned any data. Cascading issues. But that was a simulating of a network blip within the overall environment. Now I need to add an additional environment variable here within my app, and I'm going to do that here. So we're going to add this check the readiness state within the environment variables for this. Hit apply, and then we're going to restart the application. So then now when we do this as well, the actual readiness health check will take into account that the app lost access to its database and then remove it from the Go router. So while that starts here, pull this over. Okay, it's restarted. All right, the app's still there. All right, now let's try this one more time. Edit settings. Hit OK. And go back to Spring Music. All right. So that the health check hasn't failed yet, but it should fail shortly. And when we see this, these 200s should start returning 404s as a route not found, as it's we only run in a single instance, and the Go router is removed it after it's failed the health check, and it's like a 30 or 40-second health check, so it might take a few more seconds here to take into account.
I don't know if we wanted to take this time. We did get a question come in. If we want to take this time to
Yeah,
ask a
sure.
question
What's the question?
Sure. The question is, how are the new Bosch CLI commands different from BBR backup and restore?
Yeah, so those are that is I just want to pause it. We're starting to throw 404s. I will answer that in 1 second. So that the app is out of the Go router now. That the readiness health check's not going to respond. Well, if we go back to Apps Manager, so the app is still up. It hasn't crashed, right? That's the readiness health check going into play. It's been, the app isn't, it's not ready. It's still up. It's passing its liveness health check, but it's been removed from the Go router because it's not ready to serve traffic. And now we can additionally add it back into the Go router now, or sorry, fix the database glitch of let's reconnect our database so that it will pass the health check. Hit OK.
Hey, Nick, sorry, the screen
Mhm.
share did cut off. So if you want to come back to
Oh,
the screen share.
my apologies. Well, yeah, if you want to miss the whole demo there, but we see it again. So we're throwing 404s, 404 here. The app is not being routed, and we see it. It's still running within the platform. So that's the readiness health check going into the play here. And now, in the meantime, I reconnected it back to in vSphere. So the 404s now start at 200s again, and if we refresh this, we should see it back. Everything's good to go, and we can refresh Apps Manager here. Let me. We didn't have any crashes while that happened. So that's essentially readiness health checks in a nutshell, using Spring and Spring Boot actuators. But this is just a very simple demonstration of how to potentially implement this within your organization, and give the developer some opportunity to do a little bit better error handling in certain situations. Now, in terms of those Bosch commands, these are additional new commands that you can run when you're trying to just like bootstrap a foundation. It's not necessarily like, I need to restore from a backup, as in like I lost everything. This is more of a we need to like get the VM started up faster. It's like some of those commands too. You can remove some of some of those max in flight limitations, and it will start trying to start everything as soon as it can. So it's more about speed to recovery than versus like we're doing a full BBR restore from like we lost certain parts of the platform because the storage went down, like gone, versus we just had a temporary blip that took a bunch of VMs down at once type of thing. And hopefully I answered that question. Okay, I'm gonna try to get back to the slides here really quick, and then we'll get into some fun AI demos here a little bit later on too. Okay, where were we? So we'll go back to here, and then that's okay. So we saw the readiness health checks in action. Just another quick little note from our sponsors here. The TAS comes with extended Spring support. So if you are, running, a lot of you run Spring applications on Tanzu Application Service today, but some of you might not realize that you get commercial extended support for free out of the platform. And I know Spring Boot 2.7 is, I think it's end of life. When does it say? Really soon. I think it's in a couple of days. That 2.7x framework is going end of life. To get up to that next level actually requires, I believe, a Java upgrade as well. But if you're running within the platform, you get an additional, I think, it's 12 to 16 months, and just by running your application on TAS. And of course, you get the ability to contact support and get to access to some of these really experts in the whole Spring ecosystem as well. So just a quick highlight there. Your TAS platform comes with extended Spring support for free. Now, again, additionally, I can just cover the distributed tracing really quickly here. But yeah, we implemented distributed tracing within the platform. Again, you can look for span ID and trace ID. So like if you are sending those out, your logs out to, let's say, our operations for logs or like a Splunk or, whatever, an elk stack, you can look for those span and trace IDs and kind of watch those requests kind of traverse all the way through the Go routers down to whatever different, component or application it's hitting, and see that kind of full trace view. Again, that's really useful in terms of troubleshooting from, whether you're a developer, a platform engineer, or, any kind of support situation. So just something to keep in mind that's available now. And again, just the open telemetry support. This is really this last leg of what I mentioned before, that the shared nothing architecture. But if you have a solution that can talk open telemetry, you can add some additional I think they're called like metric exporters, and then that solution can start pulling that open telemetry data out of the system. And then I actually have a few blogs that I wrote in the 4.0 timeframe about how to implement the shared nothing or the aggregate syslog drains. So you can actually send all the logs out of the platform without having to use fire hose nozzles and things of that nature. So those two in combination, you can start to potentially reduce your Doppler and traffic controllers down. Now this open telemetry supports in beta now and within 5.0, but definitely keep in mind, I suspect within the 6.0 timeframe, we'll probably be in full GA, but obviously things could change. But that's probably when we'll see a big shift of people, draining or removing their Dopplers and traffic controllers from their foundations. Now, we can get into a fun and near to dear to my heart topic. This what we're calling VMware Tanzu AI for Tanzu Application Service. And what we kind of found, some inspiration with VMware internally, especially with some of our engineers within the TAS program, is they really wish they could use Copilot or ChatGPT at work. And then obviously within legal department, that was a quick no, as in we don't want to send our third-party data, our intellectual property up to a third-party solution and have that potentially go somewhere that we don't really intend. So we saw that kind of trend throughout the industry. Generative AI is like all over, everybody's talking about AI, but we kind of have this new solution that we want to kind of show to you, and then we're calling this VMware Tanzu AI. So we're hoping that you could really want to use this at work, and your legal department should be yes, because this is all contained within Tanzu Application Service ecosystem. You don't have to make any kind of third-party calls or send your data off to some other solution. It's all can be within your kind of air-gapped install environment. So with that, we're kind of introducing this, or we are introducing the VMware Tanzu AI for Tanzu Application Service tile. This is a beta that's coming soon. So this was announced last week at Explore Barcelona. We have a whole blog about it. It was on main stage solution keynote. So getting a lot of press here, but a lot of this work actually came out of the hackathon that we did, the TAS team did at VMware Explore Las Vegas. So we went from hackathon to product that we're getting ready to beta here soon. So we've been working hard at this, and essentially what this is going to allow you to do is we're offering a new tile that you can load within your TAS ecosystem and deploy what we call a large language model, which if you're familiar with generative AI, these LLMs are what's really kind of running the brains of let's say a ChatGPT or something of that nature. And we're running a local large language model. And then we've started to introduce the concept of brokering to that model and then injecting, the needed parameters or credentials for applications running on TAS to start consuming that. So from at a high level, what does that really look like from an architecture perspective? So on the kind of left-hand side of the house, we have our traditional TAS install running Diego, and you have apps on top of that. So we'll have a Spring application that we run. And then on the right-hand pane of it, we have this whole new kind of tile and Bosch release. So that's, we have some controller VMs that are running an OpenAI compatible API. So you can use really kind of any language that can speak OpenAI API calls to this environment. And then those controllers are going to talk to what are large language models, which are running on worker VMs that have GPUs attached to them. So we have the whole NVIDIA vGPU support within vSphere working. And that's really going to allow you to kind of build custom chat bots or, have that kind of whole chat GPT flow within your TAS environment locally. And additionally, up top there, we have the VMware Postgres for TAS tile. So, if you're familiar with language models, they're kind of trained up to a certain point, and once they've been trained, they don't really have the ability to answer questions off it's like, hey, we're using Llama 2 in this instance, and Llama 2 was trained up until 2021. And if you ask it a question post 2021, it'd say, I don't know, my training data only goes up to this. So that's where Postgres comes in, where we can store embeddings, which are sort of kind of like a light training on top of the model, where you can feed it new information, and then that will process that new information and actually use it to answer appropriate questions. So that's a quick high level what it is. Now let's try to get into that really quickly here. I'll have to do a little bit of setup again too. So if there are any other pending questions, I can try to talk and set up at the same time.
We have quite a few questions here, Nick. One of the questions here regarding Postgres. Postgres tile has no TAS 4 nor 5 support in the network pivotal.io page expected, or any ETA?
Yeah, so that's I don't that is shortly expected in a patch to be officially labeled supportable for 4 and 5 within PivNet. But I am running it on a 5.0 foundation right now. I've run it on a 4.0 foundation, so it works. It's just the team just needs to check the box on the next patch release to make that ready to to be on PivNet essentially. But yeah, that's coming very shortly in terms of the official support for that.
Thanks, Nick.
Okay, so let's get this going here. I've got another Spring Music application I'm going to push. So let's start that off right now. So CF push. And then you'll notice that this version of Spring Music is a little different than the more classic one. So while that pushes, I'm going to grab another terminal off the side here. Sorry, again, I apologize about the setup. I had this all ready to go, and then I had laptop issues. So one moment here. All right, that's starting. I'm actually getting into Ops Manager right now on my other screen here. Load a VM. Oh, that's still working here. Okay, I'll pull that over there. All right, so we have an application I pushed. Let's go to my space again. Okay, we'll relog in Apps Manager because it's been that long. All right, so we have this new Spring Music application. It's called Spring Music AI Webinar, and this is a modified version of Spring Music that has we're making use of the new Spring AI project. So there's all these different libraries to do essentially the backend code to talk to these open AI compatible endpoints and do like just say AI type things and this augmented kind of retrieval of documents and I'm actually not the best person to describe what's actually happening in the code, but there's a lot of articles and things out there to dive into if you really want to get into the real low level there. But let's go ahead and check out this route and hit this version of Spring Music. Now, you can see it looks a little bit different. So we have a Spring Music Taylor's version, and it's themed off of all the different Taylor Swift albums. So this, very, very similar to standard Spring Music. But what we want to do now is attach our new Tanzu AI service and the Postgres service, and then we'll see, we should see a kind of a Spring Music assistant pop up once we attach those services. So let's go back to our application. And we go to services. And let me actually kind of pull this out so you can see the whole flow. I'm going to go and bind to existing service. So I already have a Postgres database spun up for this because I didn't really want to wait for the whole Postgres, building a whole VM. Yeah, it still takes a few minutes. And then we're going to bind to what we call, this. Let's see, you can see this here. All right, yeah, we can see it here. So the VMware Tanzu AI for Tanzu Application Service. So this is our new kind of beta tile we're working on. And we're going to attach this to our application as well. And what's that's webinar. What we're doing here is we're actually passing the OpenAI API endpoint and credentials to get into the application. So we're not spinning up the full LLM on the back end. It's just we're just doing a service binding to what's already running within Bosch. And let me just go ahead and click restage while that's happening. But this is gonna follow your normal service binding flow, where the Postgres credential is gonna get injected in there. The Tanzu AI credentials are gonna get injected in there, handled just like all these other services, have been for years. But now we're making this super easy to consume these Spring AI enabled applications and wire them up for everything they need to do these kind of full generative AI flow. Let's see here. Does anyone while that spins and restages, let me we'll just show the marketplace really quickly here. But again, we have the Postgres tile loaded up as before, and the VMware Tanzu AI tile. And I could probably load Ops Manager too if anyone wants to see the tiles in action too. I don't know how long this is going to take to restage. Just a few more seconds here, but let's go in this really quickly. And then let's zoom in here. So we have our Tanzu AI tile. We'll drill into that. So some minutes here. But this is, we're traditional zone placement. We actually have, configurations for the large language model that we can use, however many GPUs you want to attach. We actually did all the work to bind to the official NVIDIA license servers for the vGPU support. That's kind of, if you want to go down that route, you have to have all that ready to go within, and we baked that within baked it into Bosch, and Bosch deployed VMs can, fully use the whole vGPU support within vSphere. And all right, that should be ready to go. Restage. So let me pull this off to the side. And I'm gonna hopefully interact with this here. I'm actually loading on the right hand side. I'm actually in that worker. So it's attached to a GPU, the Bosch worker. And when we start interacting with the AI, you'll see it start, doing things as well. So let's go back to our app. So here's, as we saw before, if we refresh it now, it should look a little bit different. And zoom in here, you can see we have, hi, I'm your Spring Music assistant. Ask me anything. So that's making use of all of these services we pass through at the Postgres and the LLM webinar, which is we're using Spring profiles to do dynamic loading of different modules. Well, let's ask it a question of, I guess I could pull the screen up a little bit too to make sure it's not getting blocked by. Let me do that. Sorry, my window management foo is all over the place today. Pull this over so I'll make sure that I don't want the dock to block the questions here. All right, so right hand side, let's ask it what albums did the artist VMware Tanzu produce? And it should, as we're asking a question, the blue line going up top, that's the actual GPU, utilization going up and down. And then it responded with something that we kind of expected, like, I'm sorry, VMware Tanzu isn't really a music artist. So no worries there, because but now since we're in Spring Music, we can add albums. So let's add a new album. And hello TAS 5.5.0 webinar. We're gonna make the artist VMware Tanzu, release year 2023. Genre, let's go with platform engineering. User score, I'm gonna say my favorite song is I Love TAS on the album, or user review, and then we'll give it a user score of 100. So we'll click OK. And then if we sort by artist, we can see now we have a new album ready to go. And we had this little blip here on the side. That's the actual embedding, that album we created an embedding within the Postgres database. And then now, in theory, we should be able to ask it the same question again and get a different response, because we've essentially trained the large language model about the artist VMware Tanzu. And as this will take a little bit longer here, just because we're giving it more data here, and we can see that GPU spike up. Still running through here, and then now it's come back with a result. Let's see here, VMware Tanzu. So now it knows that we produced the album Hello TAS 5.0 webinar in 2023. So that seems to all line up. The genre is platform engineering. That seems to line up. The album received a user score of 100. That's correct. And from Nick, and then who also named his favorite song I Love TAS. So that is ready to go. And then we see it added some additional data about Taylor Swift, because it's got a lot of embeddings about Taylor Swift. But essentially, you could use this as a quick representation of maybe your own documents of a business nature, not just these kind of pretend albums we're making within Spring Music, but how you could see running this whole kind of wave of, you could start building generative AI type of applications within your TAS environment without having to rely on all these third-party solutions or APIs, and run and within your four walls, so to speak. So that's the end of the demo here. Let me get back to the slides really quickly. Let's see here. Demo, ready to go. And then, so if you're interested in this, we have a whole kind of sign up form. There's another blog too that, we have like 4 or 5 blogs we're going to link in the actual webinar format too as well. But this will be coming soon. So please, scan, go to the link, scan the QR code, sign up if you're interested. We're going to reach out to you. But when we're ready to go, we'll get things going here soon. But we're trying to get everybody interested out there to sign up, so we can talk to them and get some more detail about some of your requirements. But that's a quick overview of the Tanzu AI tile that's coming beta soon. And then one other big call out here too. If you want to check all these, we post all of the new TAS content on what we call the Tanzu Tech Zone site. So this will link you directly to the Tanzu Application Service Tech Zone, where we have all these different, articles and blogs that come up. We'll keep them there. We actually have it, information sorted based on different releases, whether it be 5.0, 4.0, just to help everyone kind of keep track of all the new content coming out. And I guess we can open it up for questions here. Do you have any more?
Yeah, great. We do have quite a few questions here, but I do just want to comment, Nick, my favorite song is also I Love TAS.
Yeah.
Looks like we have
yeah.
a lot in common there.
Nice.
Okay, question here. Does TAS 5.0 have LTS?
So the 5.0 is not an LTS release. So the next LTS release will be 6.0. This 5.0 is an off LTS release.
Thank you. Another question here. Did you set the Bosch Resurrector to off before disconnecting the VM virtual NIC?
I don't think I have Bosch Resurrector enabled on that environment. So, yeah, I would have, if I would have left it disconnected long enough, I probably would have done something. So yeah, I mean, I don't have the Resurrector enabled here in my lab.
And we have another one here. Today we are facing a problem. We use NSX, which is nated, and some databases or web servers are complaining that the NAT IP is affecting the database. Can you find the app? Is it tough to nail down these kinds of issues when there are thousands of apps running on the same NAT IP? Will distributed tracing help out of the box?
That we may have to follow up on a little bit more specifically about what's going on within that environment. We can try to get back to you with on that one. I'm not quite sure how much natting you have going on. Will how that will impact the trace ID or span ID.
Okay, we'll queue that up and we can follow up post event here. But those are all the questions that we have here today. If there are any other questions that you guys have, I think you can reach out directly to Nick and Mia. I think they did include their contacts in the first slide. I don't know if there's also a contact us page for TAS on the website as well. Let me just double check here. Yeah, I think we do have. There's a sign up for Tanzu AI for TAS for Tanzu Application Service link we provided, and I think the contacts that we submitted in the beginning, or we had on the slide in the beginning, should also be a great place to reach out to these folks you guys see on screen. But I do want to just give out a special thank you to Mia and to Nick for today's presentation. Any closing remarks from you guys before we close out?
Yeah, thanks so much for coming out, and you can find me on Twitter or LinkedIn too if you want to reach out as well. But yeah, thanks so much.
Oh, I think you're muted there, Mia. Okay, now. How about now?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
We can hear you now.
Same here. You can find me on LinkedIn or Twitter. Feel free to reach out to us through the AI sign up page or through our website. Many different ways that you can get a hold of us.
Excellent. Thank you. We're starting to get some thank yous and great webinars and cheers in the questions here. If you guys can also leave us feedback using the Rate This tab also below the presentation screen. We do save those and do take all your comments to heart. But again, thank you guys for joining us. It's been a great time. Nick, it's been a while since we've hosted webinars, so it was nice to see you there on screen. And then Mia, I know we've been on several calls, but first time having you to the program. So I just want to thank you both for being here. Happy holidays, everyone who's in attendance. If you're watching this today or in the future, we hope you guys are all staying safe and having a great time.
Thank you.
Goodbye, all.
Thanks, AJ.